Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. Yay, we made it to Raw Umber. So we're going to be covering off that color, that hue in this lesson. And we're going to be also starting to refer to our other charts when comparing colors. Raw Umber on the color wheel sits right in with all the neutrals, right close to the center because it's so dark. And the raw umber that I have tends to lean a little bit towards green, so I put it right down here. It depends on the brand that you're using. Put that away. That's so wet. I also made a little swatch card. I just took some raw umber and I added some white and I did it here. That way it's easier just to compare this way. So the properties of raw umber, take both. So I've got the Decor Traditions. I've got Raw Umber, Carbon Black, and Opaque Titanium White. Then in the Fluid Acrylics, I've got Raw Umber, Carbon Black, and Titanium White. They both have pigment information on the back. So they're both PBR 7. Okay, so the tube one is opaque. The Fluid Acrylics says opaque, but it's not. It's more on the transparent side. It's semi-opaque. That's a good word, semi-opaque. What else? The chroma is 0.9, where black is 0, white is 10. So it's like the next darkest color other to the black. The value is 2.7, okay, where 0 is black and white is 10. Chroma, I got that backwards. Chroma is the vibrancy. Sorry. So 0 is dull, and the higher the number, the more intense. So 0.9, value 2.7, where 0 is black. It's light fast, and that's about it. So depending on which one that you have, the brand, that's where you're going to determine where it leans on the color wheel. So I'm going to take my Decor Traditions Raw Umber, and I put it here. We're transparent here, opaque here. So I'm going to put it right here. And I did this similar exercise in the burnt umber lesson. I'm going to need more paint. There we go. And then while we're here, let's just pick up the white and let's just get into that right now. So I'm going to put the white right here. Just our typical thing. We're not even doing the string yet, the value string. Just so you can see. So now under this light right now, it looks pretty neutral. It actually looks a bit more blue because I'm counting, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 daylight lights on, which is 6,500 Kelvin. I only have 1 warm light. So this is more on the blue side. But depending on where I tilt to which light I'm going with, like right here looks a little bit more green. It depends on which light. So it's also very important to if you're at the point where you need to be so detailed as to where it leans on the color wheel, like I'm talking if it's critical, take your swatch card to different areas of your home, even outside, to get a good value, like get a good average. Okay, so we've got our raw umber, did the white, it's drying now, it's getting darker. So with the value here, this is a little bit lighter, so I'm going to take a little bit more. Take a little bit more of that. I'm going to need more paint. And let's see, that's still too light. I want to get a proper value string here. I actually could have brought the raw umber way over here because it doesn't take much to bring it to black. There we go. Even a little bit more than that. You can go here a little bit more than that. So see what I'm doing here? There we are. Raw umber is a absolute fantastic hue if you're wanting to underpaint for a portrait. A lot of the old masters did that. They worked with raw umber to underpaint the entire canvas. Where landscapes, you could use burnt sienna or yellow oxide. For portraits, it was raw umber because it was so neutral and because it had a green undertone to it. And you may not think that Caucasian skin tone has green undertones. Under certain lighting, it does. Now I'm going to blot my brush. I'm going to pick up white and really go deep on this, or really go bright. A bit more. We are going to be covering different types of skin tones in future lessons, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's a really good color to do your underpainting. So when I underpaint a canvas for a portrait, I go right about here. And then I'll smush the colors around so I get a good variation. Now we'll just add more burnt umber to here. Let me just, nope. Just get right here, just want to get another little swatch there. Just see where it was. There we go. Just a little bit too much of the white showing through. A little bit too much showing through. Too light. Okay, let's see where that takes us. All right, now on the other side, this is where really I didn't need to go even this far. If we take the raw umber with this, we just take a speck of black. It doesn't take much. How about a bit more paint than that? I am going to add white so you can see the true underlying color. Okay, then we'll do white here. And as you add the black, it becomes duller and duller. And there is a time and place for that. And the time and place really is, I think, more with the transparency because the black is more opaque. You can also use this to for rock formations, to underpaint rocks. And this is about as far as we're going to go. Yeah, 'cause it's really black now. Really black. Now okay, pop quiz number 1. So this is primarily more on the black side now. How can I tell it's more on the black side? How can I tell that the carbon black is overpowering the raw umber? And you may not know this yet. We'll cover more of that in the next lesson, because we haven't covered off the series of chromatic black. Sorry about that. Chaos was just about to jump on the table and I had to stop. Luckily she didn't. Okay, so we ended off with a pop quiz. How do we know that this is carbon black is overtaking the raw umber? So now we're going to go on the other side. So we're going to take Decor Media Fluid Acrylics, and this is much more transparent. This is why their bottle may say opaque, but it's not. You would have to add, the pigment itself is more opaque, but you would have to add a lot of layers to make that transparent, or to make it opaque. And we'll just put the base color in here. So you can see as soon as you add white, it's a different story. But even though this white is translucent. So if you wanted to, I'm just going to do the same exercise here. If you wanted to, you could take, like, say, a transparent or an opaque raw umber and use translucent white to alter the opacity of the paint. You can do that. Okay, let's go here. Let's add a little bit of white. We've got to be careful because the white just obliterates. Let's go a little bit more. There we go. Look how transparent that is. Wow. A bit more, whoops, a bit more white. And you'll see as it becomes more and more white, it becomes a bit more smooth, a bit smoother. Now I am being very fast because I'm trying to keep this down to a reasonable time limit. And if you didn't have the fluid acrylics, you could replicate this just by using a bit of water. Just be careful how much water, that's not enough white. Be careful how much water you use though, just so you don't break down the strength of the pigment. And a lot more white. could have went a little bit more than that. There we go. Okay. That I probably could have went a little bit dark, a little bit lighter as well. But I want to show the transparency there. Now, now to go on the other side, raw umber, and then we use a bit of black. This doesn't take much. Actually, let's see if I can go right in here. This doesn't take much. Okay, then a bit of white. That's relatively close to the traditions. Being a bit stingy with the raw umber because I only have a little bit left in the tube or in the bottle. Rinse my brush, and then we'll take more black and add that here. It becomes quite challenging when you're darkening up raw umber to the point, to this point, because it's very hard to see. So you end up, you know, using white a lot to see the true underlying color. But it's, if you're using it to paint, like an underpainting for a rock, you know, you can go like something like that. It's not too much of a worry. It's when you're wanting to it's when I forgot what I was going to say. It's when you're wanting to do it with the white. That's when you have to be a little bit more careful. But if you're just underpainting, you don't have to be so fussy as to ratios of color to color. Again with this one. So how do we know that carbon black is overpowering raw umber? Okay, so there you go. So it doesn't, you know, it's a pretty simple exercise, but you really get to understand the differences with the transparencies here. I mean, you can go ahead and add another layer of paint to make it more opaque, but then if you get to that point, just use opaque paint. I myself prefer using opaque paint, and I can make it transparent by adding water or adding medium. But if you're using transparent paint, that's all you have, and you want to make it opaque, you have to add 3 or 4 layers. So you end up spending more time, and time in all ways of interpretation, time is worth money. So it might be better for you to go to an opaque paint. I have both because I love using the fluid acrylics for mixed media because I can really layer the colors for optical color mixing. All right, so this is the chart we're going to refer to primarily when we get to doing our portrait palette. We are going to include raw umber in that because, to me personally, it's a really it's a perfect pigment to underpaint or to paint a canvas before you even start painting. But we can explore other options when that time comes. Alrighty. So I want to see your chart. If you don't have raw umber, just stay tuned. We're gonna be making a video on, you know, buy or DIY, so you can check that out. If you have raw umber, do your chart. If you're watching this from YouTube, click the link in the description below to go to the community, and you're gonna post your chart over there. As well as with all the other videos with the pop quiz questions, type the question out and then type your answer underneath so I know what it's referring to. Alrighty. So if you're not part of the community, click that link in the description to join the community because everything is happening over there. Alrighty, so I'm going to clean this up and I'm going to get ready for the next lesson, which is shifting raw umber on the color wheel, which again is a super important lesson, especially if you're going to be working with portraits and not just people portraits, animal portraits as well. So until I see you in that lesson, stay inspired.